Hey guys, this will be video one for a new series I'm going to do. It's going to be titled How to Restore a 1971 Gibson Les Paul, and it looks like it's a Goldtop, so it's pretty cool. I have opened it, obviously, and looked at it a little bit, but I have not pulled it out of the case yet, because I just want to kind of do an unveiling here. It's really cool. It's got the old chainsaw case, and I have to watch that. So let me do this. Let me turn the guitar around this way, and I'm just going to do a brief discussion as to what's going to happen with this project. And we'll just leave it in the case for just a minute or two, and then I'll pull it out and we'll go from there. So what we got, it's a 71 Les Paul. Looks like a Goldtop. It's got a beautiful, beautiful fretboard. I'm restoring this for a guy by the name of Chip. And I won't reveal any of his information, but unless he wants me to. But Chip's a really cool guy, and we've spoken about this guitar for about a week and a half, on and off, and decided what he wants me to do and what we can repurpose and things like that. So he's already removed the neck, but it's the real McCoy. Beautiful old guitar. And man, she's got some miles on her. But he said it had a neck repair at one time, but he wants me to rebuild the neck. But I had initially started out quoting, or not quoting, but just suggesting, yeah, I can rebuild the fretboard out of Bolivian rosewood and this, that, and the other. And he was like, I really want to use my original fretboard if we can. And I had not seen the full fretboard, so I completely agree with you, Chip. Fretboard's really beautiful, and definitely the original frets. Gotta be careful so nothing falls apart. Let's do a flyby. Original frets. The frets have never been pulled out. See, he's already removed the neck. Beautiful mahogany. My God, that's a beautiful, beautiful piece of mahogany. Very cool. Very cool. 71. I've already clarified. And then body. This would be an incredible candidate to do a 59 conversion. But I got to tell you, this is pretty cool. It's so original that I'd say leave it just like it is. It's going to be the sandwich body, where the top, in other words, it's a two-piece body. You can see the glue line right there, which is cool. Looks like it's holding together really well. Again, he's removed this neck. I'm holding on to this neck, Chip, in case you're holding your breath. I'm holding on to the neck so it won't fall out or anything. But pretty cool. Let's look down there and see if we can see. Do this. Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just go ahead and I know the guitar will stand up like that right there, and that neck should not fall out. Let me get this. We got some parts here in the case that Chip provided. Having flashbacks of my old SG, man, because my old SG that I kept talking about that my brother gave me when I was a kid had the chainsaw case with the burgundy interior. So it's really cool. And I got a question for Chip. You probably know this. Can you get replacement lowers for that? So, because I know the other two, being the white, they look like they might have been replaced. Okay, so Chip sent some Cluson reproductions. set of strings, and awesome tone pros, good stuff. So we got a bridge and a tailpiece. And for you guys that are just tripping up on this series, I do very little work in my videos. My whole channel is designed to allow my clients to witness a project come together, or either as I'm making the renovation, I use my channel to present to them, what it is we can do, can't do, et cetera, et cetera. You're welcome to stick around, but I don't want to hear anybody complaining about, when are you going to crank up the table saw? When are you going to start working on it? I don't really do a lot of work in my videos. I spend a lot of time talking about theory and planning and theory and all that jazz. So you're welcome to stick around, but just be forewarned. I don't like to do a lot of work in the videos, primarily for just the liability reasons. So let's keep looking at it now that we got a little bit more room. Did a good job on that repair, and from a visual standpoint. And the cool thing, this is Chip's personal guitar, so I'm going to bring it back. Again, I want to really just capture that fretboard. That's really beautiful. It's really cool to not see any ripped out frets. And I've got all the proper tools to do that job properly. So as I mentioned to you, Chip, there won't be any tear out when I remove those frets. We're missing some perloid right there, which I don't have any of that in stock. I'll have to check and see if I can source a small amount of that. And it's definitely got some aging to it. So I'll have to figure out how to age the ones that will be going down here. But this one, as I mentioned, I've already had this out of the case once. This one feels incredible. That one's protruding a little bit right there. Not too bad right there. That one feels good, but it's protruding a little bit right there. That one's good. That one's protruding a little bit right there. That one feels excellent. So, as I mentioned to Chip, I don't like the idea of coming in and planing off the surface of a fretboard. I'm a firm believer this fretboard is really not that worn. It has a little bit of wear right here, but not enough that the player couldn't work around. There's a little bit of wear right there and a lot right there. So whatever the cat that played this was into, he was definitely into that location right there. Otherwise, I say let's just go back with the new frets and just leave the existing fretboard in place. And it looks like it's a fairly, looks like it's under 12. So I'll assess all that stuff later on. But anyway, I just like the idea of keeping everything intact historically. But if you had different plans, Chip, just communicate with me and let me know what you might be thinking. But I like the idea of keeping everything we can. I don't think I would. I know I won't be able to use the binding though. And if this binding is like this 1980 Les Paul, it has a plow and a T. And if this binding is like that, then all the more reason probably to replace it, because I don't want to get into that because I'll start talking about too much technical stuff because I don't know yet until I get the fretboard off. Okay. But if it is like this, I would say let's definitely plan on new binding. And I've already got the binding in-house. This is the binding I always use. It's the cream. It's actually all parts. It's kind of like an ivory cream. So as you can see, well, it's not going to match up with that right there, but we'll cross that bridge later on. But it would be virtually impossible to reuse that binding, I believe. But we'll see. As I'm removing it, it might come off. But the only thing I don't like about this binding approach here is, no, it doesn't. Yeah, it does too. I don't like nibs. I don't like nibs at all. But again, we'll cross that bridge later on. And this one definitely has, well, it has nibs up here, but not down there. They're kind of worn out a little bit. I guess it's from wear. just being played. Okay, so she doesn't smell too bad. She's got a little bit of a moldy smell to her, but that's cool. I have opened them up before, like old vintage saxophones. Man, I've opened them up before, and they are rank. But this one's got a sweet. It doesn't stink at all. No, not at all. It's cool. Let's look in the control cavity a little bit. Yeah, this reminds me of that 80 Les Paul. This looks identical to the Les Paul that I restored. Very cool. Just a hard wire. And per Chip's my communication back and forth with Chip, I'm not going to be touching the wiring harness. And since it does not have a cover on it, Chip, I'll make a cover. If I can't get one of the covers that I have to just fit up perfectly, I'll actually machine a cover to cover that and protect that to make certain that nothing happens there, because I'm not going to be doing any wiring. And there's no sense of even removing that pickup or any of these controls down here. I will be obviously redoing this work right here, but and then assessing what's going on here by using my other pickups to just assess things and whatnot. It's got a little bit of a corner right there, little block glued in. It's a brilliant idea, means by which to happen in both of them. Somebody relocated that pickup. I'm not really sure why that would have happened. That's I think Chip did clarify to me that at one time it had the small P90s. I mean the small mini humbuckers. So they probably got. Yeah, he did. He told me about that. And there's really no reason for me to even remove that pickup, but I may, just for visual purposes later on, and then we'll go from there. Let me check the time. Okay, I had to pause briefly, get a drink of water. Let me see if I can get a really good picture for the actual screenshot. Probably going to be that right there. Okay. Now, let's see how easy it is to remove a neck that somebody else has already started. Very nice fit. There she comes. Very cool. Very cool. It's not very heavy either. That's awesome. Okay, that's what I was talking about in the past video. If you guys were watching the video series where I'm restoring the SG, and Eric, if you're watching, the SG is going really well. I got the new neck machined. I won't start talking about that. But in Eric's video, when I was talking about his SG, it's interesting how they did the route work like this. And this is how the route work is traditionally done. And therefore, you get the radius in the back left and the back right corner. So, and what is that bit? That's going to be a 1/2 inch radius right there. But see, this is a 3/4 inch if you had the wider. But that's a 1/2 inch route work in there. And see, this is on a taper. Sorry, I don't have my little tin. Oh, here it is. I keep a little tuning. Hey, check that out. You know what that tells us? That's identical to the 59. That's very interesting. So how about that for trivia? That tenon is the same as the 59. So that is a 1.5 inch wide tenon. Okay. And let's see if I can, yeah, it's going to slide in with these. Yeah, see that pitch? There's your pitch. That's what makes a Les Paul feel like a Les Paul, man. It's probably about 4 degrees, 4.5 degrees. It's a pretty steep one. But this got a fairly pronounced belly on it. And it as I was telling Chip, I said, wow, man, I think that's cool. That thing looks like a 59. Or it looks, I guess, and I got to thinking, I thought, well, my God, it's 55 years old. So it's been around quite a while. Let's open up a little bit right there. Excuse me, I just took a huge gulp of water. As I had clarified with Chip, I won't be doing any body work, and I almost said who he was. But anyway, Chip knows how to repair that stuff. And I'm not hiding anything, but if you don't have a problem with me telling the viewers who you are, Chip, then I will. Otherwise, this is Chip's 1971 Les Paul that we're going to bring back to life. What I was talking about was that whole pitch there, and I was expecting the tenon to be like the 80s. See, this is the 80s, the 1980 Les Paul. So the same height. This is really cool. This is some great forensics analysis and whatnot. Let's see if the pitches are the same. This being a 1981. I'm sorry, this being a 1971 body and a 1980. That's fairly consistent. It's very consistent. This one's a little bit deeper down in the body, but you can see, I'm talking about the pitch, but obviously the tenon is more narrow on the 1980. And I think it was 75 when they changed over to the more narrow tenon. But this is really cool that this has actually more of a 1950s machine work. That's real nice right there. Real substantial, a lot of girth. Therefore, no damage, no cracks or anything like that. So beautiful guitar, very cool. Okay, and again, as I forewarned you guys on the front, I'm not going to be immediately going into repair mode because I was not expecting that right there. That's really cool. However, let's check something here. Okay. Spot on identical in its final widths. Let's see if the scales were the same. Too bad this was not trapezoid. I could have stole those top two from Rick. Rick, if you ever want this back, just let me know. Rick is the owner of the 1980 Les Paul that I brought back to life. I think he started calling it Lazarus guitar. That's my very first video series for restoring the guitar. Was the 1980 Les Paul, and you couldn't. Well, I guess you could. Never mind. Yeah, they're the same scale. So this will be a 24.625 inch scale. Sorry, I've been routing mahogany all day. So, other than the fact that the tenon is short, and what's so cool, let's see what it feels like. Yeah, it feels very similar. Very, very similar. I think that's the 16th. It's a little bit more shallow right here than it is right here. But the depths, it looks like the depth from this edge here to that edge there looks fair. This one looks like it could be a little bit more, but they're definitely the same thickness from the bottom of the fretboard to the bottom there. They're the same. So they were most likely using very similar, if not the same jigs. Who knows? Yeah, I just noticed this is a three-piece neck. I just noticed the joinery there in the middle. But as I'm glad I thought that, Chip. As I had clarified, I will be cutting your neck out of this billet right here if you want this. This is the flamed Honduran, and that's what I had agreed to do. But we changed gears on the 69 SG, and we elected to go with a clear Honduran, but and not the flame. And this that you're looking at here is actually a three-piece neck that I built 2 nights ago. And there's another one over here on the floor, and then there's another parts one over there. So I'm not trying to downsell you, Chip. I'm just explaining to you, if you did not want a neck that had the flame Honduran in it, then I would have to go with the multi-piece neck. And but again, and I only say that because you may not you may want this guitar to look more historically accurate, and they would not have been using like a flamed Honduran mahogany in these necks, these lowers. So I have plenty of material to build an actual neck identical to this, and I wasn't sure if this was a three-piece or a two-piece, but okay, I see a glue joint right there, and I see a glue joint right there. And what that tells me is okay, here it is. Sorry. Uh, this piece in the middle is just ever so slightly wider than this piece that I'm holding in my hand, which is exactly what this is. This one in the middle, I think it ended up being about 7/16 of an inch wide. Again, Chip, I'm not trying to downsell you to a three-piece neck, but if you wanted it to look more like the clear mahogany, I would have to go this route. And this neck is already a three-piece, but we wouldn't have to go so narrow on the inside. But again, I shouldn't have even brought that up, but I kind of had to because I wasn't sure what I was going to witness when I, opened up the case and started looking at the neck. Feels incredible. And this is awesome having all these dimensions because going back with the new neck, whether it's the one-piece flamed Honduran or whether it's the multi-piece. Now, these are just drops. I don't use those in necks, but this would be like the outside piece. Well, no, it would actually be wider than that. But that would be like the outside piece, and then the outside piece over there. Then there's a center one. And then, of course, as you guys know, there's the ears up on either side. But and there's the differences between an SG and a pretty cool. I'm not sure what that pitch is. The headstock angle. Let me just see if I can guess at it. Yeah, it's about the same. This one's a little bit steeper. It's closer to 15, if not 16. But anyway, okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to just ramble there, but that again is seeing as how I've just opened up the case. I wasn't even really sure what to expect, and like that, I probably should have. Oh, interesting. Look, there's a shim right there. That's interesting. So I need to make note of that when I'm building the new neck. It's not uncommon that sometimes the tenon is machined offset just a small amount. I'm not going to start measuring anything in this video because it would go off a different rabbit trail. But if there's a shim right there, and see, I'll fit this back together and just verify alignment and all that stuff. But odds are, if this was the neck that was always on it, then obviously it was probably correct, you know. But I won't make any assumptions because that might have been too much shim and it might have pushed the neck over a little bit too far. But when I machine the new neck, the new lower, whatever, well, it'll be that right there, which is 1.5. Because what's going on right here, this is slightly under 1.5. Not much though. And this particular neck, the new neck, I will be gluing it back in with a tight bond. And see, this is a pretty good indication that it had glue on the complete flat there. There wasn't any glue making contact right there. And it doesn't look like there was much right there. There was a little bit of glue making contact there, a little bit right there and there, a little bit right there. It might be still down, maybe down in the body. Yeah, it was enough glue to be a good job. That maple, it's pretty cool. Seeing the maple. That's what your maple tops look like. A top you're 1 3/4 inch tall lower. I know most of you guys know that, but some guys don't. And it's kind of cool to see the inside of an actual vintage guitar. I'm not sure it's going to have any lacquer left on it by the time I get finished with it. It's kind of shedded. So, all right, let me check the time. 20, is that 26? 26 minutes. Let me change gears here, and let's do a little bit of evaluation between an actual Stuart McDonald template. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. And this was something I learned when I was restoring Rick's 80 Les Paul. Okay, that's really cool. Okay. So the 71 Les Paul is about 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch shorter, the body. But as you can see, it's a little bit smaller in this lower bout, but not much. I want to say Rick's, the 80 Les Paul, it was a little bit smaller than this because it's almost like I kind of remember seeing about a 1/16 of an inch right here going up to almost a quarter around here. But this one is really, really close to the 59. This Stuart McDonald template, that's a 1959 template that was owned by a man by the name of, I think he pronounces his name Dan Erlewine. And Dan, if you're watching, I apologize if I'm butchering your name because I've never heard anybody say your name. But that is supposed to be based on a guitar that Dan owned a while back. That was a true 1959. So what we're holding here, the 71, is about as close as you can get to a 59. It's only about, yeah, it's just barely over 1/8 of an inch shorter right there. Does that make any difference? No, of course not at all. But it's just it's knowledge that I like to have when I'm doing these videos. Now let's do this. Let's see if I can prop this up a little bit higher. And when I ordered these Stuart McDonald carving templates along with that set, I've already looked at this a little bit to verify that these templates that I'm holding here from Stuart McDonald are basically, I'll say that, let me stop making assumptions. No, it's perfect. It's identical. Mind the center. Yeah, and I think that's the A. Yeah, that's the A template right there. So if you were carving a Les Paul, making a replica, then you would go to B, and I don't think I'll be able to get B in here, but we'll try to get as close as we can. Well, it's close enough. Yeah, I'll just leave it in. But typically that goes straight across, obviously, and because I don't want to start messing with it. But let's see how close it is to 59. Almost identical. So that's not something I was expecting. And this template right here is just long. It's just long. That's not the actual width of a 59. That would go off the body a little bit. This location goes right there. That's the C location. Now I'm beginning to see a little bit of variation right here. And it may just be in this one particular guitar. or it might have been Dan in Dan's 59. See how there's a little bit of a hollow right there? So, and it's consistent on this side as well. So it might be that they got a little bit flatter right there. Oh, I see what's going on. Yeah, this is really cool. This shows you how the 59 would have been scooped out more. It would have been carved out more with more recurve. So that would allow this template right here to drop down a little bit. Let's see if it's making contact in the middle. No, it's not. See, it's floating right there. So what that tells you is there's less recurve on the 71, which is fine because quite frankly, it guarantees that you don't end up with that sharp edge up there, that real sharp recurve. But that's really interesting information. Now let's look at the belly, which is the D template. I probably won't be able, I won't be able to get it to stand up. Very close. If not, yeah, that's about as close as you can get. That's amazing. So, not much difference at all between the 71 and the 59. I'm really impressed. So, and this is the what they call the E location. They're identical. Spot on. Okay, so this is information you just don't get online. You know, when you hear people talking about, oh, it has to be a 59 to be worth $250,000. Well, looks like what I'm holding here is the identical profile, even in 71, other than the fact that, excuse me, I'm sorry, other than the fact that they would have done a little bit more carving relief right here. But this up here, once you got past this point here and forward, that's a 59 per these carving templates over here. And what we saw back here in the back was pretty close to being a 59 as well. I'm not trying to, talk you into doing a 59 conversion chip. I'm just doing a general analysis and comparative between a 1971 and a 1959, or my templates at least. Okay, beautiful guitar. This is really cool. You can't replicate that. That's for certain. But that for certain, this piece of maple is come apart right there. It's only skin deep. It's about a 1/16 of an inch deep. But that's something that I don't know if I would recommend repairing that. If I were to repair it, I probably would just fill it with epoxy. But I'm not going to because that was not our agreement, and I don't want to start messing with Chip's guitar, and because he knows how to do that type stuff right there. And from a functional standpoint, it has no bearing on the tone, I don't think. But one thing I am going to do, Chip, is when I'm removing these, I'm going to assess these anchors. And this I learned this on was it Rick? Yeah, it was Rick's 1980 Les Paul. I'll cover this briefly and then stop talking because I don't want to spend too much time talking about this. But I think it's called electrolysis, where when you have wood and moisture and then electrical current, there's some sort of there's a war that takes place between those three different species, or the wood and the moisture and then the current, and it's called electrolysis. And what it'll do, you can determine it by if it's like black. Like if I look down in here and there's some sort of black, look like mold, then what it will do, it will cause the wood to deteriorate. And it's kind of like just an acid that happens over a period of 20, 30, 40 years. And if there was, because see, you have the ground wire. That ground wire right there carries that current right up to that anchor location. And if there were ever tuning issues with the guitar, or like a real old guitar, it might be that you need to remove the actual anchors themselves. And actually, like I had to do on Rick's Les Paul, I had to actually epoxy Hunter and mahogany dowels in there, and then re-drill it out, and then repress in the anchors, and I epoxy the anchors in place. And because what was happening, the anchors were both anchors were already leaning, so they weren't even really solid. So that's something that can take place in a real old guitar, and it comes from the electrolysis and the breakdown. There's other chemical reactions that go on with current and dissimilar metals and stuff like that. If you try to like put aluminum and stainless steel together or something like that, they'll actually attack each other. So that's a completely different subject for marine analysis. So let's call it a night right there. But what I'm going to be doing next is easing this fretboard off, and just, if anything, for the next day or so, I'm just going to really spend a lot of time with a micrometer, assessing everything, verifying everything I can. And I do know that whoever did this work, they did an exceptional job. They did the best they could. It's pretty cool. You can see the scarf joint right there. But you know, nice work. That's cool to see. But it's not what Rick wants. I'm sorry. That's not what Chip wants. He wants a new neck, and that's what we're gonna get. That looks like a piano. Isn't that beautiful? Really beautiful. Okay. And we'll take it from there. So I can't think of what else to talk about. I don't really want to go into any discussion talking about how I build my necks in this video. I did cover it. Well, yeah, let me take about two or 3 minutes here. This won't take but a minute. That way you guys can make the determination of whether you want to even come back and visit the rest of the series. But Chip and I both agreed he's perfectly fine with the double adjustable truss rod. And for the added benefit and the luxury of having the modern control of either forward relief or back relief, because as I've clarified in the past, I've been building guitars since, seriously since early 2000, and I've never built a guitar with a single action truss rod, not once. Stuart McDonald had already introduced the hot rod double adjustable truss rod, and I always installed the double adjustable truss rod after that. But that's how I build them right there. This fillet will be epoxied in just the way Gibson would have done the old style, where they put the single rod in and then it's on a bow, and then they glue in the fillet material, which is, I think they typically used maple. But they still had to cut out a really large mass of material in order to get the 1/4-inch nut. You can just see how much wood just gets wallowed out, and it's interesting that it broke back here, that it didn't break up here, and what little bit of volute is there. Typically, the volute hasn't really made all that much of a difference. This neck is probably on a little bit of a rift sewn rather than being plain sewn. If this lower had been plain sewn mahogany, when it hit, it probably would have blown apart right here. But the stronger the neck, well, then if the severity of the fall, it's got to break somewhere. And where's it going to break? Look familiar? Because your single adjustable truss rod goes so deep. There's just no neck left. It's not even an 1/8 of an inch. So, that single adjustable truss rod has to remove so much material in the bottom, so that when it does take that blow, it's going to take the fracture is going to take the path of least resistance, and that's where it blew apart. But not with my design. Well, I say my design. It's not my design. I will say this. I don't think there are many guys taken it to this extreme though, because see, most guys would just run a square router bit, squared off bottom. But since this double adjustable truss rod is it's a 1/4 inch wide, so it's an 1/8 inch radius on the bottom. Well, then that's exactly what I use to do the final pass on the bottom. Now, when you install these double adjustable truss rods, it's okay to bring them up flush. I can't hold it. Bring them up flush with the top. But what I do, I go ahead and plow them down. Sorry. I plow just a little bit deeper, about a 1/16 of an inch. And even once I plow down an additional 1/16 of an inch, that is the bottom. There's that much wood left in the neck. That's almost a 1/4 of an inch. And see, this is a finished thickness neck right here. Once this gets the fretboard, on it, that's a finished neck. So with my double adjustable truss rod, the low profile, the modern design, I can assure you Gibson would have been using this right here, and they would not have been suffering all of these fractured necks from day one. But then after I do that machine work, because it has the larger head up here, you have to, at this point, you have to drop down a little bit more. But even once you drop down about another 1/16 of an inch, you still have about 3/16 of an inch thick material back in here in that location right there. So if and when it does take a fall, very unlikely that it's going to damage or not be as susceptible to breakage as your single rod. Okay, and that's such a sad shame that it's no one's fault. They didn't have this. They didn't have this modern technology back then. And I'm not even sure, this probably came out in the 80s, maybe the late 70s or something. But again, I radius the bottom, seal them, nitrocellulose lacquer, and then this one's about ready to be put together. I machine this little 100 fillet. It's nitrocellulose lacquer on the back. It gets epoxied in. You don't want to tight bond this. You definitely want this epoxied. And then you do some just basic clamping. And then since that's round right there, but that's a 3/8 inch width, so 3/16 inch radius, you machine. Now I machine these out of pieces that are like 12 inches long because I machine them on my tabletop router, and then they're the perfect 3/8 inch width, but then they get epoxied in right there, as already clarified. And then once everything gets machined off, and as I covered in the last video, you don't want to come in here with a chisel and start chiseling away, because any scar or scratches that you introduce into that lower, you have to keep in mind that is the finished guitar. That is the finished platform by which the binding line would show. So if you were in here trying to chisel that off and you came across and you scarred it really bad, well, then that little scar, wherever you exited, the exit wound would show in your neck. So you have to think on that level of, how do I guarantee that once I machine this off flat and then I glue this down, that I've got a really beautiful join. And you do that by having a trim router with a special base that you make that is open on one end. And then I hang a dovetail bit down that flushes out, and I do one pass and I machine that off perfectly flat. And if I do any sanding, I don't sand like this right here. I make certain that I keep all of my sand work just in the middle. And then if I can't catch my fingernail on it, or come across it with a scraper, then it's finished. It's ready to glue the fretboard down. And also by gluing this fillet in, or epoxying this fillet in, once you machine this off flat, you now have a perfect, complete surface that you can actually glue the entire fretboard to the entire lower and have perfect contact, rather than if you had just brought that truss rod up and flushed it with the top, then you would only have glue on either side. And then once you machined it off, for that radius work, there's just not a lot of wood left over there on the sides. And by having that fillet in there, and this neck would have had that fillet, but nonetheless, reading between the lines, I think you guys get my drift. You want to leave as much wood in there as possible, and by lowering that truss rod, I'm sorry, this truss rod down, it gives me a real nice flat surface to get perfect glue connection. Okay. And I'll cover that a little bit more as I progress through this how to restore a 71 Les Paul video, because I don't want someone to have to go to one of my past videos if they're serious about restoring this type of guitar right here or this era guitar. I will, what I'm saying, I will definitely go into more detail about that in the future videos, and actually probably just 2 or 3 videos from now. Okay, so I'm going to check the table, make certain that I covered everything. I think it did. I appreciate you guys dropping in, looking around the table. I don't think there's anything else to talk about. So, Chip, I appreciate you trusting me with your guitar, and I'll try to keep these videos under 35 to 45 minutes. But if anything, again, the videos will primarily be for the client. But if you guys want to stick around and watch us bring this thing back to life, then you're welcome to drop by anytime. And on that note, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.